So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schalintz, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And literally, I am recording, and I always record in my home studio, and it's upstairs. It's 80 degrees in this house right now. And I wanted to share with you a great story because a couple episodes ago, I was talking about how I really wanted to focus on a couple things. One is creating the practice of your dreams and what the new patient process looks like and what the sales process looks like for my office and what I do and what I'm continually working on. And then the second thing is creating passive income and really starting to understand the role of investments and the role of being an entrepreneur and how you can use that to your benefit. And the story was too good to pass up, and I was thinking about my office. And I want to give you the story. So I live in Charlotte. I run it's a 2-level house. We moved. My wife and I moved here. I want to say February, so about 5 months ago, give or take. And one of the things that's always happened is the upstairs. There's 2 AC units. It's a decent sized house, and there's 2 AC units. There's one for the downstairs and one for the upstairs. Now, if you live in any southeastern state, whether it's North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, I mean, you know how vital air conditioning is. And it's not just hot, it is humid. And it goes for days and days and days and months on end, which is, complete contrast to, let's say, when I lived in Michigan. Michigan, it would be, you might hit the 90s for 2 or 3 days in a row, and it can get hot, but then it kind of cools off and it rains more. And, you don't get that in these southern states. It's just very hot and humid. And I don't know, I would never go farther south than what I probably live in. I never say never, but I would choose not to go farther south than North Carolina. Because literally when I've driven through Georgia or South Carolina, you can literally have your AC on full blast driving through the state, and it still feels hot in your car. So to make a long story short, this house, for whatever reason, the upstairs air conditioner has never worked properly, and it'll kind of shut on and off. And it's done it a couple times, and, you give it a day or whatever, and it'll kick back on. And so one day it finally shut off, and it didn't come back on. So we had to call the maintenance guy, and he came in. He looked at it and he said, well, the hose got backed up, and, the draining hose. And when the hose gets backed up, there's a little valve. It shuts off the AC unit to protect the house. And, so it doesn't flood. And, I just drain the hose. And so if that ever happens again, all you got to do is, this is what you got to do. You got to drain the hose, blah, 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 blah. Problem solved. Okay. He's up in the attic, and I hate attics. I hate like small confined spaces, which is, not boding well for me as a dentist, right? But anyway, so here I am, and I said, okay, that makes sense. So probably about a month and a half later, it shut off again. I said, well, let me go look. And I went up there, and, I'm walking in the attic, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is not good. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's hot. It's really, really hot, and I can't see anything and turn on the light. I'm waiting to see like mice and rats like crawl all around. I didn't see that. But here's this basin that's around the AC unit. It's full at the top. It triggered the mechanism. The AC shut off. All right, cool. So I'm like, how am I going to drain this? I don't know how you drain this. So I go up there with like styrofoam cups, and I'm like pouring it into a waste basket. And I'm just going to leave it up there. It'll evaporate eventually. So anyway, I thought everything was fine. And did it again, went in, flooded again. Took it all out, but really, really cleaned it out, and it worked. And about 4 days later, I look up at the ceiling, and there's watermarks on the ceiling and they're wet. And my ceiling's dripping. And I'm thinking, that's not good. There's nothing about that that's good. So I called the maintenance and I said, this is the story, this is the deal, and this is what I was told. It was a pretty simple fix. Obviously, there's something inherently wrong with this AC unit. And so they got somebody out, and luckily they got somebody out on a weekend, and it was supposed to be on a Tuesday, and they came in on a Saturday. And the guy came in and did the same thing. I said, it's probably backed up or the AC unit's not working, but this time the auto shutoff didn't function the way it was supposed to. And now my ceiling's leaking, and not only is there going to be AC damage or whatever is going to end up happening, there's also ceiling damage, which means they're going to have to put new drywall and all this stuff. And so he went up there and he said, it's nothing but the AC unit. But he said in the corner of the house, there is basically like an elbow, like a pipe that's an elbow. And that's the part that's really jammed up. And it's in the corner of the house I can't even get to. And he said, if you try to do X, Y, and Z and it fails, like you got a major mess on your hands. So he said, the only thing you can do right now is drain it periodically. And when it backs up, just keep an eye on it so it's not backing up, because it might not trigger the activating mechanism. But he said, there's really not much we could do right now, except for X, Y, and Z. He said it has nothing to do with the AC unit. It has to do with the drain and the way it was set up in the beginning. Now, this is a rental house, so, I'm sure it's up to code, but it's probably not done, as good as it could be. And you're probably asking yourself at this point, what the heck does this have to do with dental offices? It has everything to do with your dental office. I was thinking to myself, where in a dental practice could you have this little hidden elbow pipe someplace in the deepest, darkest corner of your practice that's jammed up, gunked up, and is creating leaks everywhere else? And the reality is, in a lot of practices, there's usually one or two places that, if you guys have ever read the book, I forgot who wrote it, it's called The Goal, and it talked about that, like the inherent limitations in any system, in any business that bottleneck the entire process. And if something's faulty, you see all of these problems, these systemic problems in a business that actually are triggered by that little bottleneck. I was just thinking about that. There was literally 15 watermarks on my ceiling in a straight line where there'd be areas that were dripping because of a elbow. I'm not a plumber. I'm probably really screwing this up. It's like when people come into your practice and they say something and you're like, that has nothing to do with dentistry, but that sounds good, right? So there's this little kink in the corner of the house that's probably 50 feet of plumbing away, 50 feet of pipe away from where the actual leak is. You see what I'm saying here? See, the importance of this is, like, if you have a problem with your new patients, or you have a problem with collections, or you have a problem with this, or you have a problem with that, understand that those might be a symptom of a much bigger cause that you're not even looking at, right? It would be easy to say, well, the leak and where it's backed up is where the water line, you can actually see the leak. But the reality is the problem is 50 feet away in the corner of the house. Right? We talk about that with our patients, right? The cause of the problem might not be the same thing. That's like the symptoms are totally different than the cause. So the symptoms might be in your practice. It might be decreased new patients. It might be decreased collections. It might be decreased time between appointments. It might be no-shows in the hygiene. The cause might be in a fundamentally different place in the practice. So it's important for you to start to just think systematically and systemically about your business and say, if we have problems in X, Y, and Z, is it really because of X, Y, and Z, or is there something else going on that's causing this? I would highly encourage you guys to really start studying Robert Fritz's work and Peter Senge's work. I was introduced to this when I went through my management curriculum, and it really fundamentally altered the way that I view problems and I view opportunities and practices. So Robert Fritz had an amazing book. It's called The Path of Least Resistance. please read it. It's an absolutely phenomenal book. And in fact, now that I just told you to read it, I'm going to go read it for like the 9th time because it is so good. And then Peter Senge actually wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline. And it's all about learning organizations. And it's a little bit deep. It might be a little bit complicated for a dental practice, but the reality is that the closer you can emulate a business style that way, the more you can see like those leaks in the pipe. It's all systems-based thinking and thinking in circles rather than lines. That is key. Thinking in circles rather than lines. And those books, MIT does a lot of systems-based thinking. I want you to be really analyzing your practice. Understand where those leaks are coming from. If you have leaks in your practice, think about where could this actually be breaking down that's not even close to the leak. Because the reality is, you could be draining just like I was draining, right? So you go in and you drain the AC unit. You say, I have a problem and I'm just going to drain it periodically. And then the water builds back up, right? Well, until you address the cause, the water is going to continually build back up. So, I know we talk about this sometimes with our patients, but really be thinking about your own business that way. And, once you identify those causes, your business can skyrocket and soar. So hopefully you enjoyed my story and you saw the dental analogy, and that'd be great. And enjoy your Sunday if you are listening to this as soon as it gets launched. And if not, enjoy your week. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you can go to dentalpracticefreedomradio.com. You get your free case acceptance master pack. I am in the process right now of bringing back onto the market Dental Sales Secrets, which is my course on how to increase your case acceptance in your practice, regardless of your clinical expertise. It's set up in a way that really starts to get to stories selling and storytelling. And I can't stress enough how impactful that's been. So if you do want to check that out, that's at dentalsalessecrets.com. And that is going to be launched probably by the time you hear this. So it is available again. I took it off the market for a while just to make sure that my clients that were going through it were getting the best value. And it is officially available again. So that's just something you can always check out. Thank you so much for listening. If nothing else, just continue to listen. Leave me a review. Leave me a rating. It's such a fun time to be able to record these podcast episodes and give you some value just as my thank you for tuning in. So hopefully you take care. Have a great day and talk to you at the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schalintz. We'll see you on the next episode.